Here it is, a Hyper E-Ride City electric bicycle. The e-bikes, as you know, are a big deal this year. A lot of people are buying them. Typical of shipping, there's some minor damage on the box, but as far as I can tell so far, we haven't found that anything is damaged on the inside. We have some tools that we need. A Phillips head screwdriver, Allen keys, wrenches, adjustable works just fine. Pliers with a cable cutting ability. This tells me that the brake cables probably need to be worked on, or shifter cables or something like that. It's not too hard. There's a certificate of compliance that they include on the side of the box. Pretty incredible. A warning. The battery must be charged for 4 hours before it can be used. Charging information can be found in the supplied owner's manual. So there's another thing. Of course, they're warning you to wear a helmet. Picture of the bicycle and the information about it. 700C wheels. That means it's the equivalent of a 29-inch. The only difference being that these are tires definitely meant to ride on the pavement, not off-road. The spokes and the rim won't be as strong as a 29-inch labeled wheel, because that means it's meant for mountain biking. So here we go. We're going to open it up and show you how to assemble your bike. So here's what was in the box. Big box like this. It is glued very well. And this is what it looks like on the inside. Here's all the parts of your bicycle. There's some other stuff. I believe that might be the charger. It shows some other stuff actually. And maybe that's your charger. We'll find out. We'll open all this stuff up. But as you can see, it's got tie wraps everywhere. So you're going to need some tie wrap cutters, cable cutters, whatever you want to call them, to snip all these. Okay, cut. On. Here you see, after you cut about 500 tie wraps using a nice little handy dandy pair of tie wrap cutters I got at Harbor Freight for, I don't know, $2-3. Walmart has something similar in the craft department, or the tools usually. It starts to take shape as a bicycle. This part over here is the handlebar with a bunch of cables attached. Got your frame, there's a seat, and your front wheel and front fender. So now we got more unwrapping to do, but it is looking like a bicycle, and we'll start with assembly here in a minute.
We should record this so we can...
So as you can see, here was our cardboard box. And it says on the front of it, you can read that, a plastic zipper bag containing important elements is enclosed in this cardboard container. Yeah, use the handle, don't move the camera. Please remove this and zip tie it to the handlebar. Well, obviously, we're not selling this in the store. So I opened it, and what do you know? We have the charger and some sort of a owner's manual. I wonder if it might even have instructions for how to assemble it. Open it and find out. Pause. So the manual, turns out it has a bunch of safety stuff, and then what they call bicycle assembly isn't so much how to put it together. It is actually like stuff about charging the battery, how your controller works, how your charger should look. So it doesn't show you what we're going to figure out here. Now, I am an airplane mechanic, not a bicycle mechanic, but if bicycle mechanics could invent the airplane, an airplane mechanic can put a bicycle together. So we will show you how it goes so you can do this yourself. Pause. Alright, so when you get to the handlebar part, you'll find cardboard wrapped here around the stem. And this black piece here on the end, just pull it off. It's just a cap to protect it from shipping so it doesn't ding up the paint on your bike. Which, you gotta say, looking at it, this is a nice solid aluminum construction, beefy members. It's pretty good. It's a heavy bike, but with a battery and a motor, I'm not surprised. Okay, go ahead, son. Go. Go.
It's going. It's going.
Okay. So here's your hang tag. It tells you it's electric. It tells you 36 volts, 7.8 amp hours. And then the motor is a 36 volt with a 250 watt rear hub. It's brushless motor. Aluminum frame, has a 6-speed shifter with Shimano rear derailleur. Front and rear linear pull brakes and alloy wheels with 3-piece cranks. Basically, it's a bicycle with electric stuff. You'll also find attached to your handlebars the key. Now, the key is not to start it and stop it like a car. The key is actually to keep your battery locked up so nobody steals it. Actually a good feature to have. Stop. It is stopped right now, correct?
No.
Is it going?
Yep.
Okay. So here we have cap, top of our head tube. Take that off. Now, this is a threaded stem. Old style, but hey, it works. And kind of squeeze that wedge shaped piece so that it's in line. Feed that down in, and we'll tighten this up later on, but that right now, that wedge shaped piece comes up and wedges inside of that pipe, and that's what keeps your handlebars so that your front wheel does the same thing your handlebars do, and it doesn't float up and down or anything like that. Stop. So as you can see here, it's no longer sitting on the floor. I have an inexpensive bicycle stand I got off of Amazon for, I don't know, 30, 40 bucks. Considering that my son and I have gotten into mountain biking, and I have 4 children, each of whom has a bicycle, plus my wife and I, a bike stand to be able to work on them was a good investment, and it definitely helps with this. Because when you hang this thing, you'll figure out real fast, this is a heavy bike. This is almost 50 pounds, I've heard people say, and I definitely believe them. And this stand is holding it, but man, I wouldn't want to go heavier. Saw in a video recently that a lot of places in Europe where they have rules about how much you can lift, they've actually gone to having bicycle stands with electric lifts built into them because of e-bikes and how heavy they are. Doesn't surprise me after lifting this. So now we'll get down to assembly and tightening and all that fun stuff. Okay, we're getting ready to hang the front wheel. And the first thing you're going to have to do is disconnect the front brakes so that the wheel will fit between these brake pads. See right here, there's this metal leader on your brake cable, and you simply pull that back until it will come out just like that. Stop. On. So now we're going to put the front wheel on. Get this plastic shipping piece. Keeps your fork from crushing together or getting spread out. Put your wheel up. You've got these two, there's clips with a fork or a finger on the end, and they just simply right up. I'll show this from the side. You've got your axle goes up inside of that slot. That little fork piece goes in the hole, the peg. Tighten the nut down. Do the same on the other side. And your front wheel will be safely on once you tighten it. I'm going to leave everything loose until we're ready to do all the final tightening, but yeah, see, this bike frame can only handle so much weight. This bike stand, it just tilted. But now you'll reconnect your front brake by once again pulling these two arms, popping that, see that metal piece like that, and that's how your front brake is supposed to ride. This is actually a little too tight, so we're going to have to loosen it, but I'll show you that when we get to that part. Stop. Going?
Yeah.
So this is how you will tighten it. I have my handy dandy SAE and metric wrench set. Nice adjustable. Quality from Harbor Freight, I believe. And you just tighten down each side like that. And this is an important step because you don't want to have this wheel come loose while you're riding it, or you'll end up having a catastrophically bad day. Don't need to go nuts and strip everything out, but you do want to make sure it is tight and straight. Goes free. Like I said, we got to adjust the brake. It's dragging right now. Stop. Okay, the next step, we're going to be tightening the handlebars. Now, first of all, you need to make sure your front fork looks like this. The brake is facing forward. And you can see this kind of a wishbone shape right there at the top of your suspension. Make sure that's also angled forward, not aft. So the brake's on the front, just like you see. Now your handlebars are kind of free floating, so the trick is, see this part right here? That's your lineup. Make sure that is in alignment with your front wheel. And then kind of pull back, look at your handlebars, and get everything in relationship so that you can tell it's pointing straight ahead, because that's what you really need.
Yep.
So you have some options here about the height you'd like this to be at. It doesn't have to be all the way down. Stop it. So what you'll have is you can have this all the way down here, or you can have it up. There's hash markings, which if you get a flashlight and shine on, you can actually see them going around. That's your minimum that you have to have in order to have safe usage. But if you're making this for a taller rider, you want as much height here as you can, because that's going to save your back from feeling uncomfortable. So once again, like I said, line up straight. 6mm Allen wrench. It's a socket head screw. And twist that tight, and then don't have to go crazy. This is an extra long wrench, but I'm not like really wrenching on it. I'm just doing it tight because I don't want anything to come loose. Oh, I think I got myself a little twisted here. So you can always loosen and realign if you have to. Just like if you ever are getting one of these and you want to adjust it for yourself and you're shorter, you loosen this nut or this screw and push the stem down in, you'll lower the handlebars if you feel like you're riding with your hands up too high. There we go. Stop. Okay, next thing is your seat. Pretty simple. Get all the packaging off of it, slide it down here into the seat post. There is a minimum insertion line down here, so you can't have less than that down inside of here. But you can go all the way up to the seat if you're somebody short. Now I'm building this for my father. He's tall. So I'll give it somewhere here in the middle. And then you have this assembly where there's a screw, a nut on this side that you turn as you would need to, and then you want to make it so that as you flip this lever forward, it tightens. Now, obviously it hasn't yet, so I'll continue to turn the nut on this side, lever it in. What you're actually doing is you're squeezing this clamp assembly in, and the first time you do this, you're going to have to continue to adjust this nut, squeeze, loosen, because you're pulling the top of the seat post together. You're bending the aluminum until it actually has a good grip. So turn this again. No, still not grabbing. Turn the nut. Once again, oh, we're starting to get some grip. The seat's tighter now. Turn the nut some more. You could probably use pliers if you don't have Gorilla Grip for being a mechanic. Okay, now the seat is stiffer, but it's still going to twist on you. But as I said, you're bending the aluminum. You're teaching it what you want it to do. So this is still not exactly what I would like. So get my pliers. Pause. So this is the nut that I was telling you about that you're going to have to tighten down. There's like this knurled part that you're turning with your fingers, and you have the clamp like that. Now this is still not giving me what I want, so I can take this pair of pliers, twist that a few times like that. Getting better. Still not where I want it. Now, that seat is really not going to go anywhere, which is what I want, and it is tight as I want. Stop. Okay, so I got my key, and I want to remove the battery because of the weight distribution. So, twist, battery pops, battery comes out. Good amount of weight. Stop. Alright, so I found out that this box contains your pedals. Now, pedals, believe it or not, for all that they're threaded, one thread goes the opposite of the other one. If you look at them side by side, you may be able to notice that. Basically, they're designed so that the natural motion of you pedaling is always tightening the pedal into the crank arm. So, in this case, they come with little stickers. L, and there's an L. Other one, R, and that pedal has an R. They're even different colors in case you can't read or you don't speak English, I don't know what, but you can match colors. Some people do better with colors than words. And then it's simply, notice this has an arrow, L. This circle around the L also has an arrow. That's telling you that is the direction to spin the pedal, because one of these has what's considered a reverse thread. It's backwards from a normal bolt. So if you use righty-tighty, lefty-loosey on it, you'll never get the thing to go in, and you're going to be all upset. Now, this is where the 15-inch wrench is the best tool to use, much better than a adjustable wrench, because the distance between this is not that thick. A nice thin wrench is what you want here, and simply spin it around and until it's tight. A little push more and we're good. Remember what I said though, every time you're pedaling this, you're tightening it. So you don't have to go all gorilla on this, because once it hits and stops and you give it a little more, it's tight, and every time you pedal it, you're going to be tightening it more. Stop. And same thing with this. The red sticker, this is the reverse thread side. The R goes around this way. So this one, if I turn it this way, it's never going to tighten. However, if I turn it the way the arrows are telling me to, it's threading in. Just like it's supposed to. I can take my wrench, tighten it down. These pedals are interesting. They're a solid cast aluminum part. It's pretty beefy. They got reflectors in them. But they do have this nice rubber tread here. I guess that's supposed to give you better traction than usually metal pedals will just have bumps on them to help engage your feet. Don't know which is better. This is an interesting thing, but the nice thing is you can go to Walmart or a bike store or any sporting goods store and probably find better pedals than the quality of these. If you decide to upgrade, or if you have big feet and you want something that's easier to get your foot on, and it will give you a better experience of pedaling if you have trouble getting your feet to align with these or something like that. But there we go, it's tight. Now we're on to brake adjustment. As I said, the brakes are dragging. They're actually set too tight. Now you could leave those on and kill yourself pedaling until the brake pads wear in and then they start not dragging. Or the simple adjustment is, first of all, these are your brake levers. Everybody who's ever ridden a bicycle should know that. And the thing to look at is, this is your brake cable. This right here is an adjuster. If you feel you need it tighter while you're riding, you unthread that. This is a stop nut. And now you've got a tighter brake for a different feel. However, when you're doing this kind of adjustment like we're doing for a setup, you want to screw that all the way in and screw this all the way in so that you are at the minimum adjustment. You can go maximum, but you're at the maximum minimum. And you want to do that on both brake handles, left and right. One is your front, one is your rear. And that way you will know for sure that everything is set the way it should be and it's ready to go for what you need. Stop. Okay, so now we're going to start with the rear brake. And what I've done is taken my Allen wrench, and this is a 5mm Allen wrench, and loosen this nut right here. That is your stop nut. Notice it clamps on the cable. So what you want to do is you want to bring these two arms together, pull as much cable over as like I'm doing right here with my fingers, and you want to set this so it's tight but it's not dragging. Like right there. So now if you can see the wheel, you'll notice that it's rotating without drag. That's tight. I can feel that right there. Got my two hands together. Now I'll loosen up with my fingers just a little bit. Take my Allen wrench and clamp down on the cable so it's nice and tight. And then you want to look at the wheel. And one of the things that will happen sometimes with bike wheels is there's something called truing. And that is, as the bike wheel rotates, it will sometimes do this. And you may have to adjust that. But as you can see here, my bike is not, my rear wheel is turning and the pads are not dragging. So we're good. I'm going to take the Allen wrench here, set it tight so that doesn't come undone on us. And then I always like to take the end of the cable and tuck it back under here, under the end of the spring. Now one of the other things you may run into is maybe it is dragging. Yeah, now I have a drag on one side and not the other. And that's what these two screws right here are for. They are a preset on the spring, and they make the arms go this way or they make the arms go that way. And for that, you'll use your Phillips screwdriver, and as you turn this in, it changes the pressure on the arm. Now it goes straight without dragging, which is what I wanted. And then the trick is, grab the handle and give it a squeeze, and then see how it ends up afterwards, because that's how it's going to be when you're riding. You don't want to have to keep reaching back here and pushing this to one side. So you're just going to set your two screws. It usually helps to have them adjusted so they're about the same out, but sometimes because of the way the cable comes in from the side or something like that, I just found some slack here in my cable, and I've got to adjust for that again. So get my Allen wrench back. Notice how far out these are spaced. Now I'll never be able to pull that brake and get a good grip. So loosen the Allen screw, pinch screw. Bring these two together the way that I want, so that I'll get this tight again. pull out just a hair, tighten it down, spin the wheel. So it drags. So now I'm back to adjustment with my screwdriver, because it's now hitting on one and not the other. Some of this is actually because of the wheel not being entirely true, but this is a good spin. Okay, stop. Okay, so here I am in the front wheel. Same problem. Notice it sticks and I've got some warp to the wheel and it's actually making the brake assembly up there move. So first thing is little teeny tiny tension screws right there. This one is way out, the one on the other side is way in. So I'm going to turn this one in, try and even the tension on the two of them. The further in you turn it, the further out this arm is trying to turn, because you're increasing the spring tension. So yeah, hear that little pop. That was it reacting to me turning it in. Hopefully it wasn't splitting in half because it's plastic. And this one is way too far in, so we're gonna unscrew this one. Have a better dimension here. Yeah, I just felt the whole assembly shift. Now we're still not perfect, but that's because of the wheel not being true. It's not ridiculously untrue though. If you want to see how to true the wheel, I'm not going to show it on this video, but you can easily find, just look up on YouTube a video on how to true, and I'll tell you the easiest way to do it is one where they just put a tie wrap here and they cut the tail so that it's just touching against the aluminum rim right here where my finger is, and then you do the same thing over here and you get a spoke wrench, and these right here have a nut shape to them, and a spoke wrench, which you can get at any bicycle store, quite often at Walmart, usually a tool for pulling tire stems out of valve stems, has slots cut in it to fit this, but they do have different sizes. And by turning these and noticing which way they go out as they go towards the hub, you can actually get the wheel straight so that it doesn't touch the tire wraps that you installed. But like I said, I'm not going to add that to that video. You probably really won't need that, and if you do need it, you could take it to a bicycle store and pay them to do it, or you could very easily look up the videos on how to true without a truing stand on the bicycle, without all the fancy equipment, and do it. I do it all the time. In fact, I've actually put whole new wheels, called relacing a wheel. I've actually replaced the rim with the old spokes because I had a bike that fell off a car and the wheels were bent almost in half. So it's not hard. It's fairly easy. You just find videos and people show you how to do it. That's the great thing. This video is showing you how to put your bike together and get it ready to ride. And as we can see, we've got a little bit of issue here. So I'm going to get it a little more play between the brake pads, so loosen that just a little. There it is. Hopefully it's still tight enough that the other thing you have to be careful of is make sure it is still tight enough though that, oh, bang me. Alright, if you watch this, you can actually see the wobble in the tire. See that? There's that wobble right there. That's what you would use truing for. But there I am. I'm pulling the brake handle. As you can see, it tightens up. It grabs the wheel. I'm going to stop. I can live with that. My father can live with that. If you can't, I can true it for him. That's almost to the point that I would work on truing it. But it's, as I said, it is easy. So now we've adjusted our wheels and our brakes. We've adjusted our brakes, I mean. The only thing we have left is the shifter. One thing to adjust. That reflector for the front here is obviously not going to do any good pointed down at the road. There's a screw right here on the top, Phillips screwdriver. Screw is loose, tighten it down. Make sure the reflector is facing forward like a headlight, because you want it to reflect back into driver's eyes and blind them so they don't hit you. And there you go. Don't go too tight. You'll pull right through that cheap little plastic bracket that it's on, but that's nicer than the old metal ones they had when I was a kid. Those things look like they belonged on a tractor. So there you go. Now our reflector is tight. Our rear reflector, if you've seen it, looks like they stole it off of a truck. It's about a mile wide. They will never miss you coming from behind, which is good, because this bike is not fast. Or I guess it is fast compared to some people the way they ride. But and then we'll go on to the shifter. Now we're looking at our gears. And as you can see, that part that's moving right there is the derailleur. That controls where the chain ends up on the gears. And that's a very important thing because, as we know, we want our chain to not be popping and clicking and trying to switch gears and skipping on us and everything else. So as you can see, right through here, let me get this skidding going on here. There's a slight pop in here. Now there is adjustment for this. You can find other videos that explain it as well, but I'll go ahead and demonstrate it. Basically, you want your shifter up front, all the way in the lowest gear. And then you just turn the pedals with the bicycle off the ground. Now I've done this tipped over on its kickstand, holding the bike up. It's not the easiest, but this is definitely something you want to have the bike hanging on hooks on the wall, tied to a rope hung from the ceiling, or on a bike stand like I'm doing right now. But if you listen, we can hear there's a slight popping. The chain doesn't sound entirely happy, so we're going to do a little bit of adjustment here. You have multiple ways of adjusting. First of all, just like the brake cable, you have this rotating assembly here. And you do want to make sure that that is all the way in. Now as I turn this, you'll see there's more silver being exposed. So that means I am making the cable pull. I don't necessarily want to do that. I want to have this screwed all the way in. So it's actually as far in as I can adjust to make it as short as possible. If you listen to the chain, it actually sounds fairly happy. It's going on without any fuss, so that's about right. Now the next thing though, I'm going to grab, we have the grip shift on the handlebar, and I'm going to switch to the first gear, and yeah, it's not happy. So actually what we want to do next is we want to go all the way. You can only go a couple gears at a time. There we go. So now it's all the way on the uppermost gear. It seems to be riding straight. Now what we're looking at here is the alignment here. We don't want there to be any twisting of the chain this way, because what that means in real life is you just won't get to that top gear. So you may even want to give it a turn or so. It's a nice easy one. Okay, now that we've got our top and our bottom gear, turn the handlebar shifter back one. We're actually hitting that one nice and straight. That's really nice. And we just continue to do that in each gear. And if you're ever riding, like my son and I have discovered this with our mountain bikes, we had them adjusted nicely for this summer, and then we started to ride this fall when it started to get cold, and all of a sudden our gears were slipping and popping, and maybe we couldn't get the bottom or the top gear, and it was very frustrating. Well, the simple fix when you're by the trail is just give this like a half turn, get back on and ride again. Eventually, don't go crazy with turning it, just turn it like a half turn at a time. And eventually you'll hit a better spot. But really you want to have a bike stand like this, or some sort of hooks to put your bike on so it's suspended and you can turn the pedals easily. So you can see, and then we're going to go down one more. Right, that's not sounding quite so happy. So we'll give that half a turn. Sounds happier there. Maybe a little more. Some of that is just, it's brand new gears with a brand new chain. You're going to have a little bit of whatever, you know, interference. Teeth aren't cut perfectly smooth and things like that. Down one more. Shifts nice and easy, and you'll even find sometimes after you do this on the stand, once you go on the road, you have to go a little bit more. You're turning this one way or the other. And go back to our first bottom gear. It goes in. Actually sounds happy. So, at this point, our bicycle is ready to ride. Now, it's not ready to ride electrically. As the manual says, you do have to put 4 hours of charge on before you ever think about riding this. So, definitely need to make sure you take care of that. And then, just to test again, we'll go the other way through the gears. Second, third. You want to make sure it hits each one and doesn't skip any. Right there. And you go. And all the way. Now you only have 6 speeds. There's no shifter in the front. And considering this has electric assist, you probably don't really need like 21 speeds or 18 or whatever a regular bicycle for the road would have. But these bikes, looking at the tread, might even work for a nice smooth gravel trail. I would not try this off-road. If you look around on YouTube, there's actually a pretty funny video of somebody buying the mountain bike version of this and taking it to a mountain bike park and destroying it. Because guess what? It's not a mountain bike. It's maybe a cross-country bike. This is not even meant to really be a cross-country bike. This is maybe nice smooth gravel trails, paved rail trails, the road. That's what this is for. But there you go. I think I've showed you everything. If I think of anything else, I will make another video and add it. Showing you a few more features this bike has. Obviously, here's our truck-sized rear reflector. And I think my dad's bike, unfortunately, this might be a little, yeah, you can definitely see the reflector's crooked here, or the fender. One of them is not straight. That happened in the box. I'm guessing one of these tubes, and I might be able to tweak it. But really, it's not going to hurt anything. This is the classic rat trap style bike rack. I had one of these on my bike back in the 80s, but it is nice to have a rack, place to put stuff. There are no drill mounts for water bottle cages, so you probably want to add one of them. But considering this was a $400 bicycle, right now, 2020, and that right there is the sticker that was supposed to go on it when they hung it in, when they put it in Walmart, hung off the handlebars. Notice $600. So Walmart somehow or other found a way to sell these $200 cheaper. You cannot complain for a $400 bicycle. To have electric and everything else, and we'll try that out and add that to a video later on. Finishing touches I didn't cover. One of them, there's this funny rubber plug. Comes with your instruction manual. What's it for? Well, glad you asked. This right here is supposed to go in that hole right there in your front handlebars. Gives you a nice finished look, doesn't it? Keeps the rain out, actually. That's what it's really for. Otherwise, water will get down in there, it will rust that bolt, and you'll never be able to get that loose again if you tried. But there's one finishing touch. The other one we still have to do. We have a front fender, and we didn't put it on yet. The numbers though, because that's when it's really fun.
Okay.
All right, so our front fender. It goes around like this, under the front brake. But first we got to remove the hardware. So it doesn't do that and leave us sadly not able to ride. So you have to undo the nut and the bolt. Oh my word, those are tight. All right, well, we won't do that right away. We'll get the screws out of the front fork. You have a screw right here. Once again, your Phillips screwdriver to get this out. There you go. There's a short screw. There's one on the other side as well. I'd imagine, being that these are made in China, it's a metric thread. So if you lose one or your bike came missing one, go to Home Depot and look in the metric hardware drawer, not American, and you'll be able to get what you need. So once again, I got my adjustable socket set here, and comes in metric and SAE, pretty incredible. And Phillips screwdriver can go into the bolt head here in the front, as you can see. And you undo these two. So you got to get the nut off of there. So there is a nut and a washer. Oh, it's gone forever. I lost it. There we go. Got a nut and a washer. There's a bolt and a washer. You want to take your fender assembly, feed it underneath the brake arch. That's what I call it. I don't know what the technical term is, so I'm making one up. It looks like a horseshoe. I'm calling it a brake arch. Could be the brake horseshoe. I don't know what they call it. I'm not a bike designer. I'm an airplane mechanic. And we'll get that tacked in place so that we can work down the bottom. These are the parts that are important for keeping things from getting into your spokes and wheels. These are ones I would definitely say keep an eye on these screws, because if one of them comes loose, this is going to go into your spokes and you could have a catastrophic ending to your day. And I don't think you want that. So put the screw in, tighten it down with your Phillips screwdriver. And like I said, do it tight. Don't strip it out, that would be dumb. You could even use Loctite on these. It would not be a bad idea. In this case, Loctite is easy to find at any automotive store. Do the same thing with the Phillips screw on the other side. Now, obviously, we don't want to leave that loose and bouncing around and annoying us like that. So we want to tighten this top bolt, make sure it's free and clear of hitting the wheel or anything important. This right here is the way we make people know for sure that we are not a mountain biker, because we have fenders. And we care about water and mud not getting on us. As a mountain biker looks for the biggest puddle he can find and rides through the middle of it. Or at least that's what I've been told. Now this fender you'll find can flex around, so take a look at it, make sure that it's not touching the wheel, it didn't get bent in the box, and that should keep you from riding up to your place of whatever you're going to and having mud all up the front of you and all down the back of you because of these fenders. Let's try them out, see how good they work. But that's what they were added to the bicycle for. I believe at this point we've got everything we need to. Brakes are working. There we go. It stops. Oh, we will need to inflate the tires as well. Rear wheel also. Rear brakes. We're good. Stop. So here you go. The Hyper 36 volt electric assist e-ride city bicycle. Getting this for my father for Christmas, and if you are a proud owner of one of these or the pretty much the same except for the frame style mountain bike, tires are a little different. I think the gearing and just about everything else works the same. The control system over here, you have your 3 speeds with your mode. The 6 km button is the one you use if you're pushing the bicycle, so that you don't have to push it. You can guide it, and that button will help the bike to just kind of crawl along. Power button, on and off, and your power indication LEDs. And from what I understand, I haven't ridden this yet, but the low, medium, and high is how much assist it gives you. This is an electric assist bicycle. There is actually down here under the pedals, you can see these different electronics. That kind of box thing there, right in this area, there's a sensor that actually senses the pedal arm. I think there we can see it that way. It senses the pedal arm going by it, and that's what gives it the speed. You do have to turn the pedal 1 revolution before the motor kicks in, and then it goes. And I know somebody who reviewed the mountain bike said that he actually, the chain came off and cut this cable and kind of made the bike useless for an electric bike, so be careful about that. But he was riding it off-road in a way that it shouldn't have been used. Now, I told you I was getting this for my father, and the reason I went with this style as opposed to the mountain bike style is the top tube. This has a top tube that is wicked low, but as low as your pedals. Easy step through. Somebody in their 70s, people with less mobility, that step through is a very nice thing. My mother just got herself a regular bicycle with the step through frame. There is an advantage to it. Rather than falling over and trying to get your foot over or back off the bicycle when you stop or when you're getting onto it. And that's why I went with this frame and try and add a video of my dad riding it. Probably be next summer because this is New England. It is about 20 degrees out right now, which is why I'm not riding it. It's also dark out, and we're supposed to get 12 inches of snow tomorrow morning. So I am super excited about that, but it's not bicycle riding weather. And it's just about 2 weeks away from Christmas, so probably have to wait a little while before we can get a good video of it riding, but you can find plenty of reviews of people riding these and talking about their strengths and weaknesses. And I found one guy who, he does food deliveries with it, and he's been using it over a year, and it's been going good for him. Found another guy who actually bought himself a replacement battery. That's a $200 battery, so that's half the value of the bike at this point. But you can apparently expect pretty good use out of these. Remains to be seen. Keep finding these little details I forgot. There's another little detail I forgot. Your shifter. Showing it in action, it's just a regular grip shift, but if you're assembling the bicycle, there is a little piece of plastic film on the window of the shifter. And you can pull that off, and you'll actually be able to read it a little bit easier. As you can see, number 6, that's the gear we're in right now. Overall, can't complain, and as they say, wear your helmet. You need a brain bucket. You never really know. But gotta say, for the value, this is an incredible deal, and hoping my father gets some good use out of it.